You guys know what to do.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. As you know, it is so important that we constantly evolve. Don't get stuck thinking that we know it all. Be very curious about what you don't know, And many of us have had preconceived notions about medicine. We've been taught a certain way. We're told that this is the way to be. If you get sick, you take a pill. And as you know, my registered service mark is you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. It's not that I'm against the pill, but I am for doing everything you possibly can. But what happens is when we have a symptom in the body, we run to the doctor. And instead of saying, that is your body speaking to you, let's discover the root cause. Let's discover what's going on. That's unfortunately not what happens when you go in the traditional way of medicine. But what is the root cause? Have you asked yourself that? And that's when naturopathic medicine, or alternative, or functional, or integrative, or holistic, whatever it is that you call it, I call it natural. It's just the closest way just to get to know your body, naturopathic medicine. And along the way, I received a diagnosis of Epstein-Barr. When I was a kid, I had mono. And when there's stress in your life, and today we've been laughing together with Dr. Ashley Biscoe, she is a naturopathic doctor, about I am doing way too much today, and how we're going to talk about natural medicine and finding the root cause. And so I invited her to come. She is from Attune Medical in Colorado, and she is unbelievable. Because of her, I learned how to test for Epstein-Barr where no other doctor, allopathically trained, knew how to do it, but she did. And I'm so grateful to her. And we're going to get her back because we're going to talk about the core principles of naturopathic medicine and what it is that you will get when you tune into your body. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Ashley Biscoe is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Biscoe, to the classroom.
Thank you for having me back. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're here as well. So since this is maybe your third time, and I always say third time's a charm, but since this is the third time that you've been in the classroom, would you like to share a little bit about your background and what led you to the naturopathic way as opposed to the allopathic?
Sure. Well, funny enough, I never thought I would be a doctor or any healthcare practitioner. I did study quite a bit of women's health in my undergraduate studies, and that led me to a career in public health. So for several years after getting my master's degree in public health, I worked as a public health educator in local government within the Chicago area. I also did some epidemiology research work looking at nutrition and health behaviors as it relates to childhood obesity. But even as an undergraduate, I was starting to develop a lot of symptoms of my own. And, even as a child looking back, I always had stomach aches, constipation. I struggled with moderate to severe acne as an adolescent. I didn't know anything about nutrition back then. In the 90s, everything was just low fat. So you get into like the Slim Fast and the SnackWell's cookies and all of those artificial food products. And I think with just the stress of everything, and then I was prescribed a course of antibiotics and steroids in my undergraduate years to address the acne. The acne came back with a vengeance. My digestion was worse than ever. I started suffering from chronic migraines that got so bad they would make me vomit. I truly don't know how I made it through all of that schooling. Mm-hmm. So while I was finishing school and then eventually working in public health, I kind of had this, I won't call it a side hustle, but I had this side passion where I was doing all of this research. I knew how to search the medical literature. I was going on patient support boards online, just trying to figure out what happened. Why did all of this start? What is going on? And in that quest for information, and by the way, my doctors, right, this is when you really wake up and realize the shortcomings of our conventional healthcare system, is when you are the patient and you go to a doctor or several practitioners and nobody can find anything wrong. And yet, that you don't feel well. And so, there's almost a type of gaslighting. Well, it's all in your head, or you're perfectly healthy. And I just wouldn't take no for an answer. So finally, I connected the dots. I realized that it was the total load of all of the imbalances in what I now know are called the determinants of health. And I'm going to talk about that today. But those antibiotics and steroids were kind of the final tipping point that pushed my system over to the edge. I had massive candida overgrowth, all of these problems. And so I figured out how to take steps to regain my health. I had this firm belief and just knowing in my heart that this was not my destiny, that the body is self-healing, that I was meant to be well. And I did get significantly better. I still had some work to do. And I found an integrative medical doctor who also helped me along the way. But by that point, I was just so out of touch, so out of love with my previous career in public health, or my current at the time career in public health, that I started just saying, this isn't where I should be. And I felt a calling to help other people untangle the story of their health, because I did it. And I was just so excited about it. So I had never heard of a naturopathic doctor. My own father was a medical doctor. He was an ophthalmologist, an eye surgeon. And I have an uncle who's a cardiologist, several cousins that are medical doctors. I had never heard of a naturopathic doctor. So one day I Googled, is there a way to be a holistic doctor with a license? Because I knew that there was so-called alternative medicine out there, but I didn't know anything about the schooling or the credentialing. And I wanted to make sure that I could do it in a way that was safe, legal, structured. And so that led me to the American Association of Naturopathic Physicians, which is our national professional membership agency. And I was just ecstatic. I learned that there was an accredited naturopathic school in my town where I was living in Chicago at the time. And I made a plan to enroll by a certain year and take some prerequisite classes. And so the rest is history. And to this day, I've been in practice. So almost going on a decade now since I finished my studies. And I work a lot with digestive disorders, a lot with skin disorders, because I've been there. I see a lot of women's health concerns. And so my joy is truly just helping people who have kind of fallen through the cracks. Maybe they're feeling hopeless. Not always. A lot of my patients have that same inner knowing that they can get well, which is amazing. But that's the work that I do today. So I've kind of lived through the struggle, which is why I understand firsthand how it feels to be dismissed and to feel like you don't know where to go, where to start.
There were a couple things that you said that really stood out, and you said a lot of things that were just absolutely wonderful. I've heard your story before. One of the reasons I wanted to bring you into the classroom was because you were so helpful to me, and you didn't even know me at the time, because with Epstein-Barr, they just say, oh, yeah, you've had it. Well, I knew I had mono when as a child, but is it reactivated? And it was your video that changed my life when it came to looking at, how do I truly find out that it's been reactivated? And so you were really good. You and your partner, Allison Egelin, she's also been in the classroom as well. I think we've had you like maybe 3 or 4 times. Yeah. So one of the things that you said was gaslighting. That just stood out. Like that word stood out. It is true. And I'm sure that when you said to your family, I don't know what their reaction was, that you're not going to follow in the MD route, that you were going to follow in the ND. It's like, how did I fail? How did I fail you? I don't know what they said to you, but I could only imagine growing up in an allopathic environment, knowing that the allopathic, that same environment failed you, because the same thing happened with me. Mine was food allergies, and I was getting cystic acne. They put me on Accutane, which put my liver in grave danger. And they also kept giving me antibiotics, tetracycline, and which, by the way, I can't take any antibiotics today. I cannot take them because of that combination cocktail of different, let's clear out your skin. In the meantime, it was the wheat and dairy that I was consuming, and peas of all things, that was causing the problem. Peanuts. My lunch, my little snack during the day was peanut butter and jelly on wheat toast and a glass of milk. I thought that was healthy. But it wasn't healthy for me. Right. So my community failed me as well, that allopathic community. So one of the things that I heard you say was gaslighting. And, when you start taking this alternative approach, that people will scare you, and everybody has been gaslit. Everybody is thinking that if you go to a naturopathic, and I've even had people be very, very mean-spirited and say ND stands for not a doctor, which is not true. And so, I mean, a PhD is a doctor, an ND is a doctor, CD is a doctor. So that's the first thing that needs to be changed, is rewriting the program. The second thing that was the word alternative, when you became alternative medicine. So I had a doctor, Dr. Thomas Levy. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes, I do.
So Dr. Thomas Levy and I have done some workshops together, and he heard me say alternative ways to heal. I've changed it to natural ways to heal. Right after that, because he said to me, how many people would go to an alternative mechanic or an alternative plumber or an alternative electrician? He said that there's got to be a way to describe what naturopathic medicine, although he is a cardiologist and a lawyer at the same time, he felt that, and I completely got it at that moment. And I said, natural ways to heal, completely changed something that I've said over and over without even thinking. And so
I love that.
I'm grateful that you have chosen a natural approach to health, which looks at the root cause, as opposed to let's put a Band-Aid on it. So with that being said, let's talk about what were the principles, the core principles that attracted you to naturopathic medicine, and then let's go from there.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to touch briefly on this concept of alternative. And I'm with you. I actually don't consider naturopathic medicine alternative.
But everybody else does, right?
In my mind, it is the logical starting place, because very often what we think is some, serious disease or, something going on in the body, it's just an indicator that something is out of balance. And it could be as simple as you're chronically dehydrated, you're lacking certain nutrients. And so for a lot of people, naturopathic medicine is all that's needed to return to health. There is absolutely a time and a place for a higher force intervention. And that leads me into the principles of naturopathic medicine. Just like every other doctor, our first principle is first do no harm. So even though we are prioritizing treatments and interventions that are the most gentle with the least amount of side effects or long-term damage, we also have the professional judgment to know when someone does need, a pharmacological intervention or an urgent surgery. That's a part of being a competent practitioner.
Mhm.
So I just want to emphasize that naturopathic doctors are safe. We are trained to the scope of physicians. We are legally able to diagnose and treat conditions of the human body. We attend 4 years of medical school after college. And so I just want to emphasize that the licensed naturopathic doctors who attend accredited schools, because there are some non-accredited schools
Mhm.
where they don't learn real medicine, so to speak. So that's important when choosing a practitioner, is you want someone who has attended an accredited school, passed their board exams, and is licensed or registered with a state. But moving beyond first do no harm, we also our other principle is harnessing the healing power of nature. So we recognize that each one of us has a vital force in our body. It's the same force that causes an embryo to grow. It's the same force that when we cut our hand, it just heals automatically. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to tell it what to do. And that is an indicator that your body is always automatically trying to move in the direction of healing and correction and balance. And that health is our desired default state of being. We don't have to think about it. We have to support that process, and we'll talk more about that. But another core principle is identifying and treating the root cause. Now, that could mean that we're doing some really important laboratory testing, I believe fully, and taking advantage of the advances in modern science. But in naturopathic philosophy, we also understand that there are aspects of our health that you can't really measure with a lab test. How are our relationships? Do we have joy in our lives? Are we taking time for rest and relaxation? How's our environment, our geography, where we live has an impact on our state of health. And so we have to look at a person, not within a vacuum, but seeing them as a dynamic being that has all of these influences that can either create health or set us up to lose our health. And again, the next core principle is treating the whole person. So we're not just looking at symptoms in isolation. We're not even just focused on someone's physical health. We're looking at their emotional well-being, their community, their financial well-being. All of those things tie into that person. And then perhaps my favorite principle is doctor as teacher, docere, which is Latin. And again, the word doctor truly means teacher. So we are masterful at educating our patients so that they can understand what is going on in their body, how they got to this state of health, what they can do to take ownership of their health again, having commitment with the treatment plan and buy-in so that it feels doable and in alignment with what's going to work for them. And so I love it when a patient under my care is so much better and I don't have to work with them anymore, right? I need to not put myself out of business, but there's no shortage of people that need help. And that means a lot when someone can become well working with me. And then they know because I've taught them how to maintain that going forward. That's an important principle. And then, of course, prevention is the last core principle. Prevention is the best medicine. So someone might present to a naturopathic doctor with a specific concern, and maybe we're trying to prevent a worse outcome down the road, or in our workup, we identify issues and imbalances that will eventually become problems if we don't address them now. So we are looking to support health before a person gets sick. Or to prevent a worse outcome from happening if they already are compromised.
That's great. Those principles are for us all to live by, for all of us to live by. But it's wonderful that that is the principle of the naturopathic. Now, as we look at the naturopathic. Let's just have a conversation about this, because I want people to understand that not all states acknowledge the power of a naturopathic doctor, but others do. I think at the last time I checked, there were 18 states. We've got a long way to go. Yep. So some of the complaints, and by the way, if any of you have a question, whether you're listening on Telegram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're listening, on my website itself, if you type in a Q, text me or type in a Q on wherever you're watching and write your question down, I'll ask it before we are done. I'll ask Dr. Biscoe. So with that in mind, people have been controlled and manipulated, for lack of a better word, by the insurance industry.
Yes.
So I've heard many people say, oh, I can't afford to go to a naturopath because you have to pay cash, and then they just want to give you a bunch of supplements that they want to sell you there. What is your what would you respond to somebody that has already that preconceived notion about naturopathic medicine?
That is such a good question. And first, I want to say that a lot of naturopathic doctors do accept insurance. Depending on the state where they are licensed to practice, especially places like Arizona, Oregon, Washington State, they are considered full physicians under the law. And many of my colleagues do accept insurance. So you might be able, if you're a listener interested in working with an ND, you might be able to find a naturopathic provider under your insurance plan. And then for those practitioners, like here in Colorado, we don't have insurance privileges. So if you're working with someone that is cash pay, I just want to emphasize that this is an investment that brings an ROI. And yes, it can feel expensive if you're paying out of pocket and you're not used to that. But I promise you, if you were to see behind the scenes what your insurance company or what your doctor is billing the insurance company on the conventional side, I've seen super bill statements from some of my patients, and it's amazing that a 15-minute visit with an endocrinologist was billed at $699 and nothing even happened in that appointment, and there's no real value being created. I do want to speak to the supplement piece though, because that's important. And you're right. A lot of people leave with the grocery store bags of supplements and they're like, oh my God, this is expensive. It's important to find a practitioner that's going to be very deliberate with his or her treatment plan. And I tell my patients, these are supportive tools, and my goal is not to have you on all of this stuff forever. That practitioner has a duty to be very intentional with why they're recommending something to you, communicating with you the course of treatment. So how long, they want you to take a certain product and why. Are you trying to address a specific infection? Are you trying to support a really targeted gut repair protocol, something of that degree? And so the goal should never be to breed this dependency on the supplements. And I see a lot of that going on. And actually, there's a term for that. We call it green allopathy, which is basically instead of loading up on pharmaceutical pills, you're just loading up on supplements. And that can be a Band-Aid too. Just because you're using natural products, whether it's a botanical tincture or supplements, you can still actually be working within a philosophy of symptom suppression or allopathy. You're just doing it with natural substances. So that's why it takes a lot of understanding and ideally working with a very knowledgeable practitioner who can help set the intention for why you're using certain things, what that course of care looks like and why, because it is possible to use symptom suppression even with natural means.
Now, did you say Colorado does not acknowledge allopathic medicine or just does not let you prescribe?
Great question. So yes, let's clarify. So here in Colorado, naturopathic doctors are considered doctors under the law. We can diagnose, we can treat. They do not grant us prescriptive authority in this state. In other states, like I used to have a license in Montana, we could prescribe there. So different states can have a license or a registration for a naturopathic doctor, and each state can have its own scope of practice for NDs. But here in Colorado, we are considered doctors. They consider us complementary type doctors, even though we're doing amazing work. And, we can do things like naturopathic primary care, naturopathic dermatology. We're able to specialize. We just have to disclose that it is naturopathic, right?
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? I believe all 50 states should allow it. And I wonder what healthcare today would be like if people say, you know what, because I don't have insurance. I have health share. I do a health share, and they were for the longest time, they were my sponsor for 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5. They were my sponsors, but but once COVID hit, it affected it affected so many people, but health shares primarily. And but I love Liberty Health Share. That's who I use. And so even though they're not a sponsor, I'll share what I have. Everybody has to do their own thing, but I can go wherever I want. They cannot say, I mean, if my naturopathic doctor or whoever it is that's taking care of me is charging way more than they should, they have every right to say, wait a minute, this is the natural standard. This is how much it's normal. But I love the fact that I can choose and they support wherever I go. So I hope that someday that's what insurance will be like, where people can choose where they want to go, because many people choose the allopathic way of treating cancer because that's the only thing that their insurance will pay for. However, what they don't know is that the out-of-pocket expenses of allopathic treatments, they still have over $50,000, $100,000 worth of expenses out of pocket that the insurance company doesn't pay, but plus they say that they're allowing you to go to this. But if they were to try a naturopathic way of that same treatment, but in a naturopathic way, their out-of-pocket expenses would be a heck of a whole lot less than $50,000 to $100,000. So how can you wake people up today that may be saying, I'm going to go to where my insurance tells me to go, because ultimately I think it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And you're right. A lot of the treatments and prescriptions are out of pocket through the insurance model. We have had patients that when they first came to see us, they were taking expensive biologic drugs, which are immunosuppressants for autoimmune or various inflammatory conditions. And for some of these patients, a monthly injection can run $1,500 or more per shot. And then when you consider that you're not really, I won't say you're not regaining your health. Again, there's a time and a place for things, but when you consider that you're not rebuilding your health necessarily through the insurance
I like
model,
that word. Yeah.
you're not rebuilding your health. You're kind of putting out the current fire and dealing with the management of your current symptom or health condition. And so if you continue to suppress without getting at the root of what caused that problem in the first place, eventually your body will become more compromised as time goes on. And again, we've seen patients here where their health became so poor that eventually they weren't even able to work. And so I would just encourage everyone to think about not just the monetary cost of perhaps paying out of pocket, but perhaps look at the opportunity cost of not going within a system of healthcare that actually helps you build health so that you can have a long, healthy quality of life. Because there is a deeper cost, right? But also it could be financially if you lose your ability to work or have to shift the type of work that you do. And I see that over and over. Naturopathic care, looking for these deeper hidden root causes. Sometimes it's a simple shift. It's not even as dramatic as you might think. That can save you so much in the long run when you're not dependent on insurance copays or expensive prescriptions, not to mention your ability to earn a living for yourself or your ability to show up in the world, be with your family. You can't put a price on those things. I realize that sounds cliche, but it's absolutely true.
Yeah, it is. But it's the lie behind the belief. Yeah. I think that when it's what's the word? Consent. It's informed consent. Informed consent. If I'm going to choose this for me, because I know what all the costs are, and I take this choice and I look at this alternative choice, and I look at all the costs that are going to be out of pocket. I think that if people were to tell them, you can spend $30,000 here doing a 9-week treatment, or you can spend $150,000 or $100,000 doing a 3 or 4 year treatment. And I think people would be more interested in a natural approach than going through the synthetic approach. And I would like to make that comparison with natural and synthetic, because that's what I focus on here, is to do as much natural as possible. I know that there are times where you can't, but and maybe there's an alternative option to a natural that is not harmful. I mean, there are things like that as well. So so before we change the subject, because I really want to focus on what you would like to talk about with naturopathic medicine, I want to change it a little bit here and talk about the websites and how you can get a hold of us and Dr. As well. And so Dr. Biscoe as well. And so what I would like for you to do is go to whenyouneedafriend.com. While you're there, please subscribe. It is important because little by little, and the more I talk to naturopaths, people that are sharing information different than the mainstream media, we are all the information that we're sharing is being suppressed. So all of you, if you want to continue down this path and you want to continue learning more, please subscribe to the classroom. That way you know who's in the classroom and different ways that you can watch, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube Live, on my website, Telegram, Twitter, whatever it is that you want to do to watch this stuff. But still, it is so important that you not only subscribe to whenyouneedafriend.com, but you also like and follow us on social media. Because the more you like, the more we can overcome these algorithms. And so we are the 99%. We are the 99%, and we are much stronger than these algorithms. How can you help? By sharing and tagging and liking and making comments and asking questions. That's how you help. Not just me, but everybody that is trying to spread the good news about health. While you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, please check out my sponsors. Please support them the way that they're supporting the classroom. And also go to my Shop Now bag. I told Dr. Biscoe that we have a wonderful course coming up with Dr. William Davis starting August 1st. So check out what we're doing on August 1st. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Click on that, on the link, and register. We also have, for early people that register, we're going to be doing a giveaway from Food Marble, which is the Air 2. I have it right here by my desk. I think I have it right here by my desk. There it is. It's right here by my desk. So I can tell what I'm breathing out, whether it's hydrogen or methane gas. And so this is going to be part of what we're going to learn in the workshops, in the course. And we're also we're going to be giving away, and these are for the people that are registering early. We're going to be giving away, Lavelli is giving away 5 of these, not we, but Lavelli. We are going to be, they're partnering with the course that we're doing. Also, we have Dr. Bradley Nelson is coming back to Florida. This will be our 3rd workshop and seminar together. We're going to do the body code and the emotion code together. 2 courses instead of 3 courses. There's going to be just 2 courses. It's going to be phenomenal. And that's going to be November 3rd and 4th. So check out this information. Check out all the different ways that you can heal naturally on the website by going to the Shop Now bag. And last, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. So whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, you can help out the classroom, whether it's a one-time donation, recurring donation, or like I said, every penny helps, especially with all the censorship that there is. So, please help out, whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure, all of it is appreciated. Also, I want to point back out that Dr. Ashley Biscoe, naturopathic doctor, is here to share her wisdom and educate us all on what it is like to enter into the realm of natural health. And so you can go to Attune Med, That's ATTUNEMED.com. And she's got things. Do you guys do telemedicine, Dr.
We
Biscoe?
do. We offer telehealth. We also have an 8-week online program, and we have a new offering called an expert chat where you can just block an hour of time to get a second opinion on your case. We can give you basic recommendations. We can give you an expert opinion on if you had some lab results done. So that's a great way if you just wanted to kind of test the waters and get a sense for the level of interpretation or explanation that you can really get from a naturopathic doctor.
Very good. Very good. And that's attunemed.com. And let them know Lily sent you so that she knows that it's worth her time to come and visit us once in a while. So we were talking about the philosophy of naturopaths and also the core values, but let's talk about you and what you're doing with Attune Functional Medicine. Anything that you would like to share to enlighten us even more about natural medicine?
Sure. Well, I think the most exciting new project that we have is our 8-week program. It's called Body Bliss. And what we've discovered over the years working with countless people is that a lot of people have the same or similar root cause imbalances going on. And so we mapped out a specific curriculum that takes you step by step how to identify these deep layers, what to do about them. You're even guided to order your own functional medicine lab test so you can understand line by line what's happening and what to do about the results. And we've just been blown away by the results that people are getting in this program. We also, right now, we're including a complimentary 1-hour call with me or the other doctor. So it's a way to really get some hands-on help and really make fast improvements. We're amazed at how many people are already seeing results before the 8 weeks are over. And again, this whole program is based on these naturopathic foundations. We talk about breath, water, rest and recreation, gut health, environmental concerns. All of that is built in a very doable step-by-step way.
And that is an 8-week course.
Yes.
And so who should focus on taking this course?
I think anyone who especially is new to natural medicine, if you are someone that maybe you've been reading online and you're interested in making nutritional changes, or you've heard that supplements can be supportive, but you don't really know where to start, this would be a perfect place of starting. I would also say anyone with digestive conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, anyone with skin concerns, acne, eczema. We've seen great results with headaches, great results with hidradenitis suppurativa, which is an inflammatory skin condition, joint pain, fatigue. These are the main conditions that the Body Bliss program would be great for. And if anyone has questions about whether it would be a good fit, just give us a call and we're happy to have a quick chat and help guide you into what would be the best fit for you.
So you talked about breath and water and rest
Yes.
and recreation. Let's share a little bit more about, what we should expect. What should we know about those things?
Yes. So one of the core principles of naturopathic medicine is that we aren't just going after the problem. We aren't just going after the sickness. Obviously, we don't want people suffering. So we do use gentle means of symptom relief, right, while we work on the root cause. But what really distinguishes a naturopathic doctor from other types of practitioners is that we are focused on building and supporting what we call the foundations of health. We also call these the determinants of health. And these are the factors and the variables that every human being needs in order to be well. Obviously, our lives are dynamic, so we're never going to be in perfect balance with every essential foundation of health. But when a naturopathic doctor is doing an intake, so if you were to go to a naturopathic doctor and fill out the classic paperwork, you'll be surprised at how much more in-depth that document is. Because we're not just asking what are your symptoms and what medications are you taking and what's your family history. We're getting into, your social history. Do you have friends? What do you do for fun? How often do you laugh? What was your mother's health like when she was pregnant with you? We look at the inborn determinants, we call those. Where do you live? What's your occupation? Are you exposed to certain chemicals or heavy metals? Our intake questionnaire here at Attune is over 30 pages long. It's online, thankfully. You can save your work and come back to
From
it.
the privacy of your own home.
Exactly.
Right?
But we're getting to know you as a person. Again, treat the whole person. Your health does not manifest within a vacuum, or I should say your state of health. And so we have this lens that we're looking through with the patient, and we're trying to determine which of these foundations need support, which ones are really out of balance, and how can we support this person either through making lifestyle changes, sometimes it's job changes, sometimes it's what they're eating, how they're moving. We did talk about breath, and that is the first naturopathic determinant. They kind of go in essential order, at least for the first few, because they're the non-negotiables, right? Without breath, you're dead after just a couple of minutes, right? And that's also a really important one, because if you think about the word inspire, or to breathe in, the word, the root spir, S-P-I-R, that's spirit. That's the very essence of your life. And so even now, there's more research coming out about the importance of breath. I just read a great book. I think the author is James Nestor, and he talks about how we breathe from the time we hold the inhale to the exhale, and how that can relate to even conditions like gut health, ADHD. It's amazing. And then the next determinant is hydration, right? Are you drinking enough water? Are there contaminants in that water? Do you have electrolytes on board so that your cells can actually take up and maintain that hydration? And then we look at sleep, right? Are you getting the right kind of sleep during the dark hours of the night? That can be a challenge if you have shift work, right? So we have to do things to help navigate that if a person is a nurse working a night shift or things like that. But sleep is when the body has the opportunity to heal and repair. And I think that's an important piece we often forget. We tend to take the conventional allopathic model of like, well, I'm just going to take these supplements. I'm just going to take these pills. But your body needs not just the materials and the resources to heal, it also needs the opportunity. And so rest and recreation, even fun and play are very important. And then, of course, sleep. Sometimes if a person is not able to sleep, if they have insomnia, then we're going deep into why that could be. Are there issues going on with cortisol? If so, why? Are there blood sugar imbalances keeping them awake? And if so, why? So we're always playing detective, going deep, and sometimes it's emotional, right? Is something keeping you up at night? We're often referring to counseling or to practitioners who can do neurofeedback or somatic work. A lot of patients have stored trauma. And I know that you've worked with Dr. Nelson, right? Dealing with how the body will hold on to those past hurts and stressors. And sometimes you have to do a little more nuanced work to help release that. So those are just some of the examples of what we're considering, which is vastly different, right? Very few medical doctors in the conventional setting are going to ask. They don't have the time. And I believe that these practitioners are very well-meaning. And I think for a lot of them, they didn't know really what they were signing up for. And I have friends that are medical doctors, and they're very unhappy with how the system is set up, so I try not to fault the practitioners. The system is broken because it's all about numbers and revenue and seeing as many patients as possible within a short time frame and limiting the treatment options to what your insurance is willing to pay for.
Once again,
And I also want to be clear that a lot of people don't even know that naturopathic care is available to them, or they don't have much faith in it, because we historically have had targeted campaigns against this type of medicine. So just a lot of people don't believe in it, quote unquote, without even realizing why. It's because it's just not considered valid by many. And so it loses its credibility.
When people say, I don't believe in this, I always say to them, I'm not asking you to believe in Santa Claus.
Yes.
I'm asking you to look into it, because it's when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Because I was taught from childhood, because I grew up with asthma. You know, you got to take this pill, you got to take this asthma pill, it's just like all of that. But it wasn't until I became an adult and the asthma came back very strong, and they gave me a drug called Xolair. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I, after 9 years, success to them, 9 years of being on this drug, I get an EOB that said, which means an exclamation of benefit. For those of you who don't know what an EOB is, an explanation of benefit, and it said chemotherapy from my allergist. So I was upset because this is when I had started the show, when I was beginning to learn, dip my toe and natural health and all of that. And I was just like, what is this? So when I called the doctor's office, they said that this was the closest to the CPT code. So that means that they were giving me something very close to chemotherapy, and I had just begun to learn about this. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I was interviewing Dr. Andrew Saul of Food Matters. I was in the middle of about to take a break. We were about to take a commercial break. I was on radio when he said my most favorite words. You know, Lily, I can help you get off all your asthma medications. I was ready. And I would say up to that point, if somebody would have come to me to say these things, first of all, I wouldn't have had enough information to make my own decision, which is what Santa Claus belief is. You don't have enough information to believe the information, so you don't have enough information to believe the situation or whatever it is. So once I saw and started learning what natural health is, what a symptom is, the fact that cancer is a symptom. Yeah. When I learned that, I couldn't unlearn it. Yes. I couldn't unlearn it. And I have spent the rest of, I had to walk away from radio. I walked away from, so that I could share this information, but now we're being suppressed. So what do you say to somebody that still has this mentality that I must go to a doctor, an MD, as opposed to within? Like when you were talking about breath, water, sleep, rest, trauma, when you're talking about all that, sometimes we don't need to go to a doctor. Sometimes it's a life coach, like me. I'll help people unravel that. Sometimes it's a specialist. Sometimes it's, so when somebody has this idea that it's all about taking the pill and the symptom of the body and not the emotional aspect of it, what do you tell them? What can you tell somebody today that is denying that their health problem could be a manifestation of a trauma that's being suppressed?
Yeah, that's so great. In my experience, the type of person that has a stronger belief in the pill, etc., it's because they believe in science. And what I want that person to know is that everything I've talked about today, all of the naturopathic determinants, even talking about trauma, there is scientific evidence for all of that. It just doesn't make its way into today's medical training. It doesn't make its way into today's medical practice. The average research study gets read by, I think it's like 3 people. And it's been said that there's like a 50-year gap. It's been said that there's about a 50-year gap between the current medical research and what actually gets done in clinical practice. And I want everyone to know how scientific naturopathic medicine and our philosophy really is. It's rooted in basic science. It's rooted in biochemistry, anatomy, physiology. Even if I were to recommend an herbal or a botanical to someone, there are pharmacological actions of the medicinal constituents, and there's textbooks written about this. There are research studies. You can go to pubmed.gov and find. So this is nothing new. And there is peer-reviewed research explaining mechanism by mechanism about why these methods work. And just working with a naturopathic provider, I think a lot of people would be surprised at how medical it really is. We're looking at medical histories. We're performing physical exams. We are checking blood pressure and other vitals. We're ordering traditional laboratory work in addition to the specialized labs. We are sending people out for referrals. Sometimes I have to send someone to a neurologist or a gastroenterologist. It is very much a scientific approach to healthcare that has way more tools in the toolbox and works with the way your body was made, the way it's designed to work, so that you can actually restore health, regain health over time, instead of deceiving yourself into thinking that you're getting well just because the symptoms go away. Symptoms are indicators that something is out of balance, and your body will compensate for those disturbances, and that over time will show up as a symptom. Your body is really adaptable. Your body is always trying to do what's in your best interest, even if it feels uncomfortable, but we have to pay attention to what it's trying to tell us.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I remember having a conversation, and we're getting close to the end here, but I remember having a conversation I was talking about, it was during the pandemic, and we were talking about something, and the girl had an opposite position than I did. And I had said something about mask wearing and how it could cause more harm. And instead of saying, oh, tell me more, the response was, well, I believe in science. And so I said, well, I believe in God, because science is constantly changing, but God is always true. And we have forgotten what truth is. Yes. And fear is what is being used to control and manipulate us. And so anytime we say, I believe in a certain thing, science has changed over and over and over again. Yep. So,
and as someone who used to work in the public health field, and I have graduate level training in epidemiology, biostatistics, I know how easy it is to use statistics and numbers and data, which most people don't understand, to prove your point. And so you have to be very careful and use discernment and not necessarily buy into fear, because you can twist stories and data to support anything you want. But you're right, the truth stands.
The truth stands. But what is truth? Because things, I used to say that all the time, you can't argue facts. Yeah. Well, now you can. Because if it does not sustain or support the mainstream media, that's all the fact you need, that it doesn't support it. And we're going to go with what the culture is being pulled to. It's a belief system of fear that if you don't believe this way, somehow you'll be left behind. Yes. But the reality is the more we dare to learn and grow and welcome doctors like you. Dr. Biscoe, I'm just so grateful that people have you in Colorado, but it's nice to know that they can also reach out to you. What is the number for, because I don't think I have it here, but if they wanted to get a hold of you, where can they get a hold of you?
Sure. So definitely the website, attunemed.com, ATTUNEMED. And you can also give our clinic a call at 720-456-6718.
Okay. Let them know that Lily sent you. And so that way they understand that this was a positive experience for all of us in learning this information. And so I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing, because you could have chosen, because that's what happens when I've had doctor after doctor after doctor say to me, after I got that MD degree, I was stuck. I was told I would never cure anything, that I would treat and manage medication. And eventually they got out of that box with fear that they may lose their license, with the fear that, so I'm grateful for doctors like you that said, from the get-go, I'm going to learn the right way to do it. And that way, I'm not saying that allopathic doctors aren't learning the right way, but it's being infused with lies.
Yeah. Well, my mom will tell you, I've always been kind of a rebel and done things the way I want to do them. So
I tell you what, that critical thinking, and for people thinking on their own, is being mocked. And so I say, be a critical thinker, be ready to be a rebel, but have a reason, have a why. So thank you so much. Once again, attunemed.com, Dr. Ashley Biscoe, ND. Thank you so much for being in the classroom today. Pleasure. I'm looking forward to maybe having another conversation with you soon.
Love that.
Okay, and please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Ashley Biscoe wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Okay.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Thank you so much for watching today, everybody. We're going to have Dr. Lee Cowden next week on the classroom to talk exactly what you were talking about, Dr. Biscoe, which is the emotional component of disease and is so important for us. And thank you so much for highlighting that today, because that is so important for us to become aware and embrace it as something that they need to also heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, thank you. And thank you guys for watching. And once again, Attune Med, ATTUNE MED. I thought I lost the M or the N somewhere there. But thank you so much, Dr. Biscoe, for being in the classroom today.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you guys all tomorrow.